We interrupt the Hammerbarn Project podcast feed to bring you the special report. Frank has the details.
Thanks, Oliver, and listeners. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Just Brenny needs a moment here to catch his breath because we are about to talk to the one, the only, the musical maestro, the man you hear on every single episode of Bluey, Mr. Say it with me now, Joff Bush.
I cannot believe those words as they're coming out of my mouth. Oh boy.
He's been very generous with his time. Of course, we're heading up to when the new album drops, so he's been a very busy boy. But he was pretty excited to chat to us. I'm pretty sure you'll hear the excitement in all our voices as we chat to him.
Oh, there's so much too that we might have to split this over.
We might
have to split it over two. So
2 albums.
There'll be 2 episodes just like the albums. You know, we're just but yes. For your listening pleasure.
Here he is, Mr. Joff Bush.
Well, folks, there are normal days. You have some normal days sometimes.
Sure.
And then you have days where you get to say things like, "Hello, Joff Bush."
Hey!
Thank you so much. This is bonkers.
No, thank you. And thanks for your support of our show and everything. And yeah, it's a pleasure to meet you and chat to you.
Oh, it would be
Joff.
impossible to stay silent. Yeah.
We can't help it. We can't help it.
Yeah. Look, we're so excited about this album coming out April
21st.
Well, thank you so much for saying that. I've got it wrong about 3 times. I'm like, it's the 22nd, and then, I think I got it wrong on TV the other day, and
take the pressure off.
Yeah. Anyway, it's somewhere in April.
Well, you heard me slow down there. I was like April 20. But if Joff Bush is allowed to get a bit hazy around it, then maybe I am too. But I'll just do a little bit of housekeeping that I sorted out today before we start.
Important.
This is very important because we're going to be talking about the album. We're going to be talking about music, and I'm just going to want to descend into the particulars with you, Joff.
Amazing.
And I've noticed from the interviews of yours that I've listened to in the past is whenever you feel like you might be getting a little bit too nerdy and a little bit too deep, you kind of almost censor yourself. But I just want you to know that there'll be none of that today. Absolutely none, because I am so here for you letting your geek flag fly. And as such, this is your green light. Can you hold that up to my niece Nora? I'm not a dad. There it is. Nice and early with that one. I'm not a dad, but I am a live-in uncle, and so I got my niece Nora. She's almost 4. And she drew you a green light.
Nora, that is amazing. Great. I knew what it was exactly, which is an amazing plus. And the skills, it's beautiful. Thank you. I love it.
Yeah. So anytime I feel like you might be not giving me the full story about what happened on the day or how you mic'd up that mandolin, then green light, you just keep going.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the big problem is I'm really bad with remembering names of things and times. And so, even, there'll be something that'll pop up and they'll say, I'll start to get nerdy, and then I'll use that as an excuse. It's like, oh, I'm getting too nerdy. I'm sorry, but it's actually because I've forgotten.
You
I'm
heard
like,
it here
hang on,
first.
what happened there?
It's a tactic.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so often we're just trying to make something. Everyone's just trying to make something great, and then it's so fast paced that we just it's hard to go. And then at the end of a season or launching an album, I have to go work out what we did, and that's what's so Anyway, it's an excuse. But we'll see.
Does that feed well into your nature of wanting to keep doing and keep moving, or is that do you find yourself wishing you could slow down and appreciate the moments? Or
I definitely wish I could appreciate some of the moments. I'm getting better at it, but I tend to. There's such a hit. It's such a buzz when you make something that works or come up with an idea, and then you just have to explore it. And I get into a one-track mind and will focus on something for hours just sort of you could get lost in the world of creating.
Well, that's a form of play as well.
It is, it is. Yeah. So I mean, I'm not sitting there going, this will be on. I mean, at no point are we sitting there going, this will be on an album. This will be even even when we're making the album, I don't think we're thinking this will be on an album. I think we're just going, what's the best thing for the story? And anyway, so well, I forgot what the question was. But
there was a question.
On that, you were kind of talking about the first album and not expecting things to be the way they've turned out. You've talked before about how the first album was to you a surprise success. You were kind of like, we just wanted to make something cool, and it's now this multi-award-winning album. I was just wondering, for the new album for Dance Mode, like, has that changed the way that you've gone into it, or have you just gone, no, we're just going to do something cool with the music like we did last time, or are you more thinking about how you think people might have been interacting with that thing? Because you call it, it's called Dance Mode. Are you trying to get people to play the games along with it? What's the thinking there?
The approach was really, to start off, the approach was freaking out how we're going to live up to the success of the first one. And now it's this benchmark of, the first time was everything to prove. Like, can we go, I think everyone was expecting us just to take the tracks from the series and just release that. Yep. And just go, it's done, whatever, here we go, hopefully someone likes it.
Have some more merch.
We just went all out, probably much to the dismay of the label, or maybe not, but we sort of just went, let's get a horn section in, a string section, it was just like really like just wanting to make something great, and everyone working on it. And it was of that same sort of mindset. That was like, let's not cut corners. Let's just, do what we wish we could have done in the show if they had like a 10-minute sequence for us to do, and the time and budget to bring in all these players and stuff. So that one was everything to prove, and now it's like, I guess if this doesn't go number one, you've failed. I've tried to get out of that mindset when we were making it, and just try to do the same thing. Just have as much fun, keep the vibe going, and keep the energy in the studio, and the same sort of like the space for everybody to have that passion to make something that everyone's going to be proud of. So I like it, but I hope everyone else does, and too.
We're loving.
I don't know.
Man,
it'll be out of the world.
And I know this is only one person saying this, so this is the definition of drop in the bucket. But I'm so glad. I'm so grateful that you made that decision, because those are all my favorite tunes on the last album, like Instrument Parade and Grannies, where they just turn into full-on jams.
Yep.
And this one, we've heard a couple of tracks off of it while we record this, and the Bebop Walk, like the organ jam solo? On that, it just it just makes life worth living.
I was in the room when Brendan first heard the Bebop song, and I'd heard it a couple of times, and the minute that organ solo starts coming in, he just shakes his head and just like,
I love that it's not, and you're a tones man, and you're a sounds man, Joff. I love that the choice was made. It's not like a B3 sound. It's like it kind of reminds me of like the organ, the latter model Hammond with all the tabs that you would have had at your great uncle's place.
I wish I had it around here. It's actually like this You've been warned about the nerdiness. It's a Yamaha.
There it is. Here we go.
It's a Yamaha YC25D. It's
nice.
I got it from someone for like $200. It wasn't working, and I cleaned it out, and it's like it was full of like rat poo and everything. And there was like bits of rat there, and it was disgusting. And then like I don't know anything
Imagine
about
what
electronics.
It would have cost without the rat poo.
Exactly. Yeah, they've gone up now, so I was like, that's a good investment. But I went, because I'd heard of these, and I always wanted one for a while. Yeah. It's just so bitey, and like it's from the 70s, but it's a real gritty like. It's a pretty obnoxious sound, let's be honest.
God bless you.
But that one was like, once we got that sort of cleaned out, and then there were bits with, I don't know much about electronics, but it's like I had like be like, that looks like it should go there, And
Excellent.
If it goes spark, maybe it doesn't.
Yeah.
Excellent.
don't try this at home, but it works.
Yeah, right.
Looks, you mentioned the word obnoxious. Now, the cover of the album is of course Chattermax.
Yeah,
Which-
there we go.
Hey,
There it is.
There,
Yes.
Look at that.
Oh,
And so, the first track being Dance Mode, the
Yes.
album cover being Chattermax. Are we sensing a theme here? Is this what was the choice behind that as the cover?
you've said your favorite character's Muffin.
Yeah.
You've talked about how like the just generally obnoxious
It's
things.
all
like
coming
broken-
out. Well, Joe Brum, Blue creator, and Costa, one of the animator, art director, everything. People designed that album, and it's just the coolest thing. And actually, funnily enough, the first album Joe Brum designed as well, and it was very much. We had to push really hard to get that because it's most kids' albums. They go, "Oh, can you call it, flop around and dancey thing or
Super
something?" It's
fun
like,
Sure.
like
Yeah.
some silly names, and then you need the characters' faces all dancing, and this one just says Bluey the album, and it's just Bluey listening, staring out,
Chilling out.
and it's really introspective. And the same with Dance Mode. It's a pretty bold choice for them to do that, and to have Chattermax, not a main character's just face there. And it's just wild and loud. And the first half of the album is a little bit wild. It's such a journey between some of the just look, you'll hear it when it comes out.
Yeah.
It's like very soon.
Comes out on April.
April
21.
17, 25.
I've just had a look because we've got the track list here.
Yeah,
and
that's been released.
I've been meaning to say, well, one of the things I was going to say to you tonight, Joff, is thank you. And that's a sarcastic thank you for coming up with the lollipop song.
Oh yeah, okay.
Because I've had yam, 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 yam,
It
yam
gets
in
worse.
both my and my wife's head all this week.
It gets
And
worse.
every
It
time
gets
one of
worse.
us got it out,
Yeah.
then we'd walk past the other one going and re-seed the other one.
Well, the
So-
brief was like, I think Joe said, "Can you make a really annoying song?" And so I was like, "I was born to do this."
I think I tried to find it in Spotify or something like that.
Yeah.
And it tried to make a mix, and the next song down was like the Crazy Frog one, or no, it was the Hamster Dance one. So I think you succeeded.
Wow,
that's
if anything,
great.
Spotify agrees with you.
One of my
So-
biggest influences, Hamster Dance.
Oh man, one of the worst things is whenever I'm whistling from the Disney version of Robin Hood with all the animals, the Fox version.
Yeah, yeah.
The deep dee da dee ba do.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Dee bop dee do. Yet up a dee bee ba da ba dee. But
You did that really
but
well.
The hamster dance is dee ba dee ba dee do do.
Yeah,
dee da
it's
dee dee.
yeah.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's the same
yeah,
track.
Yeah. It starts
sped up.
and then it goes dee da dee. The better one, obviously, the original Disney, Robin Hood. Dee da dee ba do do.
I think it
now
even
I've
had an
forgotten it.
origin before that, actually.
Right, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up.
This is probably a good time, to
the
jump
other
in.
piece of housekeeping that I
in the
organised.
same way.
No, I love it. We should just talk about Hamster Dance for like the next half an hour. I'm so down. I'm so down.
I was just going to say, in the same way you have been given the green light.
Opposite way.
Yeah. Brendan has been issued this little egg timer. So
right.
when he
Egg
does
timer.
something like, does a whole musical riff for no apparent reason,
I'm thinking it may continue.
How did I do? Did it was the sound?
I'm starting it now.
You're starting
You've
it
got
now.
this
Oh,
much
that's-
time left
You've
for
got
the rest of the episode.
you've got a whole minute left of steps. Time to shine.
I stole that one from a board game called Think Fast, so I think it might only be 30 seconds.
I'll just put that there.
Which is probably longer than the original Hamster Dance. So it's impressive.
I've got a question about, because I think out of us three here,
Yeah.
Brendan is the greatest percentage made of music.
Oh well,
I think he's at least 67%.
well, that's what I might agree with if Joff Bush went on the line.
I couldn't do a better rendition of Hamster Dance. So.
But I think one of the things that jumps out to me when I'm watching the show and thinking about how the music links into the whole experience is this idea of comedic timing with the music.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm just interested in hearing about how those conversations take place. So you notice places where it just drops out and then you get the punchline or little an additional sting at the end. I was just wondering what's it like to be in conversation with the comedy in that way?
Yeah, I mean that's a really good question. It's a hard one to do in Bluey because we do broad strokes, a bit more of a broad strokes approach rather than a lot of this sort of what's called Mickey Mousing in the industry, which is that you get that with the Looney Tunes shows, those old ones where eyebrow goes up and it goes that sort of that really in the moment scoring, which I love that too. It's just such an impressive thing to watch. We don't do that in Bluey, but it's almost like the nuances within these broader strokes are what bring out those things, those dropouts are only work because it is a broad stroke like that, and so you notice it when it drops out. You can really feel it go, right. Oh, I better listen. So there's this sort of trick I've heard in songwriting, which is if you really want to make a point get across, the last word you say you follow with silence, so I'm like, so if the lyrics are ba ba dee ba 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 do ba do, then that last do is the one you remember. So it's the same thing when you with the scoring it. We will have what could be the backing to a song and the dialogue's going, and we don't drop out before. We drop out pretty much usually afterwards. So it's like drop out, and then you've got this pause, and you feel it, and you understand what happened in that. You notice the joke, the silence there. I mean, I'm over analyzing things, and it never works when people, someone might be writing this down. I doubt it, but someone might go, right, okay, that's how you score it. And whenever you take that approach to scoring, like comedy particularly, it never works. Like you go, oh, I've got to do comedy really serious, and then it's just something else. It's just you just play around until it makes you laugh too.
Well, I've always been really interested to know, and this might be specific to comedy, or this might be a little bit too different in animation than, I don't know if you've ever done a lot of scoring of any live action comedies or whether live action dramas are any different. But when it comes to, like, I've seen the behind the scenes of Star Wars where John Williams is scoring along with the orchestra and you've got the playback on the big screen and everything, and I just think, how can you score those hits? I mean, comedy especially, the hits are so accurate. How do you do that? There must be a push and pull with, otherwise you'd have to have the craziest time signature changes on the fly. Who has to end up being more accommodating? Do you go back and change the video, or does the audio have to?
We time we basically, when we're going through in a spotting session where we work out spots where things happen, once we've got, we can talk about soft hits and harder hits sort of thing. So you work out the things that are most important to hit, and then you can find a tempo that is like 97.6324 or whatever it is beats per minute, and you can, there's technical ways of doing that, and that becomes the tempo of the track. And so and the other thing is that often a good editor will subconsciously edit to a beat. And even a mediocre editor can often will use like a temp track, like a piece of music, to edit to as well. So then they convince everyone that it's actually everything's going to be fine. See, it works. There's some music on there. And we had a lot of more of these temp tracks in season 1, but by season 3 we hardly had any. It was very much just there, but there was, the editing was good, and the it did have a sense of a steady pace to it, a lot of the editing, so it made our lives a bit easier. And if I did think like the editing was a bit off or kilted or anything, I'd just say it. I've earned my place to say this.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, here.
The editing's wrong.
And
I
I've
don't know
only
what
been
I'm talking
fired
about.
3 times now. So
Well, Frank, would you mind starting that egg timer?
Oh, here we go.
I'm reminded of Breaking Bad because I've listened to every single behind the scenes podcast of that show. I'm absolutely obsessed.
Yeah.
And it's seeing as you mentioned temp music. They're big on, like, I don't know whose decision it was, whether it was Dave Porter, the composer, who's really big into like industrial sort of soundscapes, or Vince Gilligan, but they're big against the idea of temp music. I don't know why.
5 seconds.
For the reason for reasons such as those spotting sessions, Dave Porter goes into the edit and just goes, oh no, I don't want to be in here. I don't. This should stand on its own. And and that was really cool. But
that's great. I mean, it's a confidence in who you're working with. I'd never worked with Joe before this, so understandably he has some really strong ideas about music, even while he's writing it. But it was a sweet spot where he had strong ideas, but he was really also open to new ideas. So which is a really good place to be when you're creating.
Sure.
But I mean, we veered away from it, but there was enough times even in season 1 where there'd be a temp music and we go completely different, actually that's cool, but let's do this. And I think we found something better eventually. But it's something that sometimes it's really handy and sometimes it's really not, and it really depends on the composer. And
absolutely,
it's so particular. I mean, I don't really like it. My favorite bit is really just sitting down and coming up with a concept for things. But sometimes it's super handy, like if they've set up a sense of pace with the jokes and stuff like that. We don't have to keep going back and forth. So
it's I think one of their points is that the fear of becoming attached to the temp music.
Yeah, which happens a lot.
A term that's quite similar to that I heard used by Bernard Fanning in the behind the scenes of the Vulture Street album.
Yeah.
He said when they were in the studio, they had a case of what they called demoitis.
Yeah, demoitis.
But it sounds like this in the demo. It sounds like, and so when you're doing something, no matter how sure you are that this won't be the finished product, there's the danger of. But as a compliment to you, I have heard Joe say, I can't remember if it was on our interview or another interview, that he said he doesn't worry about getting attached to temp music anymore because of your work. He said after a while working with you, he's like, I can afford to get attached to this temp music because I know Joff is just going to bring something better to the table.
It's a lot of pressure sometimes. Like you go, well, okay, let me do something. I mean, it's very nice of him to say better. Let me do something that's better than, Queen's #1 hit or something. It's just like, we've got a day. But it's also, because we're scoring a story and a unique story every time, it does mean that it will, I do believe, even if the music is worse, I don't know, but than the temp, it's probably going to be more fitting because we've really gone into the depth of the detail of what the story's about and how the music's going to play into that. And sometimes the music's good because you could say, what do you like about it? What is it about it that you're trying to get out of there? And then there might be a response, and then I might say, well, I disagree. I think the problem is this character's not showing up enough. And then but inevitably, weirdly and also frustratingly, Joe Brum is always right. I'm like, sometimes I will pipe up and I'll go, no, I'm adamant it has to be here. And he'll go, no. If we ever have a disagreement, he's always been right. But there's also been times where I've said, no, I really want this. I feel everybody he goes, okay. But when he knows, and it's frustrating. You go,
should I cut that bit out where you say that for your sake? Or
cut it all.
Joff, you've talked about the spotting sessions there. So when you come together and figure out, where the different bits go. And I think you were talking to Kate and Mary from Gotta Be Done, and you were talking about Octopus, I think, and how that was about getting into the heads of the kids and like what the play experience was like for them.
Yeah.
And I was just really interested in the other techniques. I'd just love to be a fly on a wall in one of those spotting sessions. I think it'd be fascinating. But just like the other techniques that you use to choose the way that the music should interact with the story. So like, I think you mentioned choosing songs that used to be in car rides, so maybe tying to place or tying to memory. Is there other sorts of things, like common techniques that you found yourself using?
Yeah, I mean, I use a huge. I mean, what I love about writing music for Bluey is we get to try lots of different approaches, because there's so many ways of being right in film scoring, and that's what's so exciting about it, is that I can take an approach, I can take a very external approach where we're not in the heads of the kids, and we talk about it. Go, well, this one's and Cubby, which just came out, sort of did that. Yes. A score I did with Joe Twist, and we were like, we had a big conversation about it, how being like a fable and a very external approach where we're going. It's almost like the music's helping create the sense that. And then this happened, and so it always stops. Not when it's like, if you watch that episode, the music will. There's a bit where the music stops when they get to the penguin room, if you may. And often, if you might go, I'm going to create the world of the penguin room and stuff. It just stops and lets the dialogue play out, and then it moves again. It's really this external approach to it. It's not inside the kid's head. It's not world building. And then there's other episodes where it is about that. Like Sleepy Time is a very world building and very structural type of approach. And then there's like all things like Keepy Uppy and things, which is very much inside the kid's head.
It sounds like and you mentioned a brand new episode. It sounds like you even now are still discovering new, fresh approaches, which is bonkers. Could you have imagined yourself doing that at the start of how much you've achieved?
That's so nice. No, I think sometimes maybe I try and just push the fresh approach, because I just like, I need something. Let's do something completely different. And a lot of it's because like all the episodes often have a fresh approach. Like Joe Brums often really explores all the different ways of telling a story, or different types of stories he wants to tell. And so that opens the door. You could go, well, we often think of each episode like a short film. It's just we're starting from scratch. We're doing something completely different, and we develop a scoring concept around it each time. And that's often the starting point. And then I mean, it's the content that sort of dictates the fact that we're doing that. And if I'm just sitting there trying to write cool tunes, I'll probably fail completely. But having something to always lean back on in the story is, I never get stuck because of that. You can just go, okay, what is the story about? What's a interesting, creative way we can approach this? And then if I find that novelty, I get really excited and go, yes, great.
So one of the reoccurring questions / debates we have on our show, you mentioned the word novelty. Cat Squad.
Yes.
I am obsessed with Cat Squad.
Yes.
They're the best non-characters in the show. I'm so excited the fact that there is a Cat Squad tune coming up on the album.
This is probably one of the tunes I'm most excited about on the album.
Yes.
So, because I am always like hamster dancing it up, saying like, with meows, I'm going, meow, 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 like whenever I'm alone. And so this time I get to use that talent and turn it into a song and finally shine for what I'm good at.
For the sake of the listener, when Joff said talent, he did do the air quotes. We weren't just laughing at him calling himself talented. We were laughing at his actions. I just want that to be on record.
This was audio, sorry.
Just needed that to be clear.
But this one, it's on the album. It's cool. It's real, it's real punky. It's real fun. It's like a live little sort of punk band sort of thing happening.
Awesome. Yeah.
And this is the thing that's really exciting, is we got almost everyone who worked on the album, or the other composers I work with, other musicians I work with, all these other people, we all got them to shout Cat Squad at the end of their take. And so it's all in there. So it's like this real, like, everybody's going, just meow, 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 and then it's just this big cat squad, you know. So it's kind of like a little bit of a, and it's so simple and just fun. It was just a fun thing to make part of it, and it just sort of flowed out.
Yeah.
Are we just thinking of this as like the end credits song to like a 90s cartoon?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that a good way to think about it?
I mean, it's
okay,
like,
sweet.
I guess it's, you know, yeah, it was kind of originally about what are these, you know, I mean, one of the first things Joe said to me was not to make it, you didn't want to have a loud, obnoxious kids show that's bright and really in your face all the time.
Yep.
That was something that really annoyed him as a parent, I think. Like, sure. I mean, it's great, but like 24 hours a day, you know,
right.
it can be a bit much. So when every single cue is trying to grab your attention and everything like that. And I was like, okay. I mean, back then it was like, I hadn't even seen it. I was like, hey, I like this guy. This is great. Sorry. For listeners home, I was just adjusting my headphones. So yeah, I mean, this was kind of meant to be a
Homage?
like homage to everything we're not. Yeah, homage is a good word.
Excellent.
Opposite
but
of everything Bluey.
It just ended up being like something that I'd probably write anyway, because I love, and we did dirty it up a bit for the album, like you know, just wanted a bit more punky and like, you know, just hopefully just rock. I think it rocks out. I think it's cool.
Yeah, nice.
I don't know. But it rocks out as much as you can rock out with someone going meow 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 to the top.
I've been doing that with Brendan for years.
Yeah.
It is nice to have this world where you can create these annoying things that only last for a certain amount, like Chattermax's song, and just the concept of Chattermax is this really annoying toy.
Yeah. I mean, and I mean Chattermax on okay. I do have to mention Chattermax is one that I am also excited about.
Excellent.
Great.
Sensing a theme.
Yeah, I'm excited about everything on the album. I'll talk about the ones I hate. No, but Steve Peach is this a composer that worked with on a bunch of stuff, particularly season 1, and he's got a bit of a background with like dance music in the 90s as well.
Sure.
And so he came up with the original Chattermax thing, and then we're like, let's just speed it up like 20 beats per minute. So it's just like, it's basically kind of like Euro dance, but just a little bit too fast.
Yeah.
And so what we did for this album version is like, and then for the play one, I was doing some versions where we just like, let's just pump the bass and have some other things happening. And then for the album one, we did talk. You'll love this. We did mention Hampster Dance quite a bit. Amazing. This is going to be.
That's right.
I was like, I want this to be Hampster Dance. But Joe Brum did the original Chattermax voice, and in this one, I'm actually using a bit of his original Chattermax voice, and then my own Chattermax voice, and it's seamlessly sort of edited together in this way. Like it took that took so long. It was just like, how do we match? Toilet. Yeah.
I'm sure.
And the lyrics that come with it are spot on. They're exactly right. You can sing along to it if you like.
Yes. Amazing.
But,
I have to tell you, Joff, like we got the other week, Frank and our families, we went to the shops because my wife needed to buy some new pants. Anyway, we got sent off with the kids.
Yeah.
And the cost of doing business was a new Chattermax toy for Naomi, for my daughter.
Oh, is there a Chattermax toy now?
Yeah. This
I didn't know
plush.
this.
Oh, it's fantastic. No, it's this great little plush. Anyway, when my daughter is all about like, can you help this toy talk or whatever it is, this toy talk? And of course she's like, can you help the toy talk? And we're like, okay. My wife does it the best. And it's finally gotten to the point where she's just kind of like, okay, can you stop doing that now?
Nice.
She's like, which is great for us as
Too
parents.
accurate.
We're like, we've finally got something that we can come back to. We're like, oh no, we're just doing the character.
That's
do you
one.
find this annoying?
Yeah.
That's score 1 for the parents.
One for the parents. And like 100
That's
million on
amazing.
her side,
Well,
so-
this track will put an end to that. But we do tip our hat to it in the album. I do have to say that. Like, we do have a little moment where it's like, you know, I won't ruin it, but it does like.
I can't wait.
There is a little hit. There is a tip of the hat to. No, this is annoying for parents.
Amazing. I can't wait.
So yeah, but yeah. Anyway, what's the other annoying track on there? Yeah, let's Lollipop.
I want to take you to a different space. We've got a couple of episodes here we want to ask you about.
Oh yeah.
And just because, you got so many great stories, but we talked about it recently. One of my favorite episodes is Space. And just all the storytelling that goes through that. Change of tone from talking about the.
I
crazy
love Space.
episode.
I think it's one of my favorites too. I think it's one of Joe's favorites too. I think it's such a bold choice for an episode, and it's probably. I don't know if it's anyone else's favorites, but I love it, and yeah.
Would I be right in guessing there's some Hans Zimmer in there, or can you tell us anything about where that came from? Was it going, okay, let's find some science fiction
Interstellar
in
type,
this,
yeah.
interstellar ideas, or
Yeah.
Can you remember where you were at?
I wasn't thinking that.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I'm actually not too au fait with the Interstellar score apart from that big, beautiful like organ bit. I know.
Yeah,
I
right.
think I was really. I mean, one of the things I loved was this sense in sort of Miyazaki films, Joe Hisashi.
Yeah.
You get a sweet spot for Marty, right?
That noise that Martin just made when you said Miyazaki, I'm going to cut that out and keep it forever.
We never really. I think we referenced it a bit on maybe Shadowlands, a bit of that sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
But
okay.
it's definitely something. You've got these big sort of chords which have all these extension notes over it that aren't just the basic chord, and so it. Often in Bluey, I'll create something and completely simplify it back down to something, its essence a lot more. So it's got that sense of clarity through it. And Space, there was a sense of the music can play a little bit more ambiguity. Like there was it does take you on that journey of questioning and all those sort of things. So, I mean, it's very roughly a bit there. It's also a bit of a sense of, there's almost like a hymn-like quality to it, and there's also an out-of-tune guitar-like quality to it. So I'm playing it. And I didn't have my I after that one I bought a nicer guitar, but that was a whatever $120 little thing. I
Maybe
love it.
that
Sounds
adds
like
to the
cardboard. It's
ambiguity
beautiful.
of.
Yeah. But but it does have I always like these instruments. I like things with a bit of personality. Anyway, I'm just getting into guitars. But yeah, Space was I'm not quite sure what the influences are. I just know that I started off with that big scene where Mackenzie's walking through the
through the portal.
the tunnel, and it was just about building this big particular chord up, and the sense of like movement and going within yourself, and gets quite introspective and big there, and yeah, it was a very like I always think of it like a I feel like it could be like I suppose in Interstellars, I can see how you come up with that, because there is that code with the organ in there that is like very church-like and bigger than yourself sort of vibe. And I guess I'm sort of going for, a sort of hymn almost with that, like a hymn then with these big chords that spread out over it, and these lot of floating extensions that have this ambiguity. So it was sort of goes between the hymn and that other sound. I mean, I'm so sorry.
That's a
It's so hard to remember what we did.
That's a really
amazing.
and that's a really interesting thing that makes space all the more special because and unique because I've heard you speak before on the idea of ambiguity in the in the music and how often you try to steer things more to the clarity side
Exactly.
of things.
Yeah.
And so why not swing for the fences like you guys so often do and have one just for, and that's another fresh approach yet again, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like every time I say what we do is this, it's complete. This will be like 10 other episodes. You go, well, that's not what you did here.
We found you out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all recorded now.
I think the only sure thing is, I have to go back on everything I've said now. But yeah, the only sure thing is we approach every episode differently.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Hey, look, one of the more recent tracks, the from Rain, Boldly in the Pretend.
Oh,
Yes.
Can I just say when
Amazing.
that, and this is before even the film clip dropped to, which I want to get to in a second. It's a what is it, about a 4-minute song. I have a 45-minute drive to work. I played that song, I kid you not, 10 times just on repeat because I just couldn't get over it. Like I like music. I'm not perhaps in certainly not in Brendan's vein as far as how it speaks to him. But I was nearly driving through tears listening to that song. It was just beautiful.
Thank you so much. I mean, that's definitely one we spent the most time on, and I really have to tip my hat to Jazz. Like, that was a special episode for us because Jazz Darcy and I have been working together. You know, she started as assistant and was my assistant, and then basically ends up being a composer and doing all sorts of other things. And she sang "I Know a Place" as well. Like, but she didn't write that, but she sang it, and so it was really great that after we had been working together for 4 years to do this episode together, and it was really such a combination of us where she would write one thing, I'd write another thing, then we'd go produce things, and then like we go, we need a chorus in this bit, and it was like this, quick, here we go. What about this counter melody? We'll turn that into and it was very like, it was just a great to have the music centered episode, such a combination there because she's an amazing talent. It's perfect for her and her songwriting sensibilities, and then she wrote these lyrics for it. And it was like, it was like, well, we have to make this into a song. And I think we spent the most time on that track than any other track on the album. Because we just kept going, let's have this big outro now. And then we get the studio next door to here that we record at. Marley, the mixer, and who's brilliant. Mixed the first album too. He's a genius. He recently said to me, I think you might have had the most tracks, like different layers of any other thing we've had here.
There's a feather in your cap.
So there's so many little nuances in there as well. But it's so much. It's like it's so much of that is jazz, and I'm so glad that this one's out there and we managed to make it a single. And
oh boy,
but yeah, it's a funny one because it's not like, I don't know if it's one of those ones where people like, let's play album for the kids, and then that comes on. It's such a it's not like a it's not a silly game track, but I think it's really beautiful, and I think it encapsulates so much, particularly Jazz's lyrics, what encapsulates so much of what Bluey's about.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but was it Helena Chaika?
Chaika, yeah.
She would have written the lyrics for "I Know a Place."
Yeah, she did, and the music on the episode with myself and Dave Barber as well. But that one was also such a one, which like Helena Chaika had done this. That track was really stuff that she was creating for the episode, and I was like, hey, can you just like. I'll send you the bits we added and can you turn it into a thing or whatever. And she came back with a song, and I was like, a song, I don't want a song on this album.
Right.
She was so right. It was such a beautiful thing. And then I heard it, and I was like, I wasn't sure at first until I heard it, and I was like, this is amazing. And so both of those songs, both Helena and Jazz, it's really, it's their babies really as well. So,
and I love that
amazing
move. I love that move. In the first album, having the instrumental for I Know a Place, and then go into the instrumental for The Creek, and then going into I Know a Place, leading into the end of the album. And now that we've cheekily received the release of the track listing, I can see a similar thing happening with Rain and Boldly in the Pretend.
100%. Yeah,
and did that happy accident the first time round inform the decision, or were they separate happy accidents?
It did, absolutely. It was like, let's make this into...
And now it's a thing.
Yeah, it's a thing, and we actually on the instrumental version of Rain, it's the first time we've actually just used the music from the show.
Okay.
Because we did actually re-record the whole thing and do everything we wish we could have done, and it was just missing some of the magic from this that came out of the first thing. And no matter how hard we tried, we go, oh, but we've got these beautiful tin whistle parts and all this stuff happening. And then we just, at the end, it was like, we had to deliver it in 2 days, and we just go, it's just not feeling right. And I think it was Marley suggested, he goes, oh, what if I did this? And I think he just played the original. Oh, you fixed it.
Oh, wow.
So, that was an expensive, long exercise.
Even in like a lesser team would have gone, no, we put the effort in here. We've got to use, but to have the wisdom to go, where's the magic? The magic is there.
And it's the same with, even like Grannies, we recorded a live bass player and all new live guitars, but the bass and the guitar in that, the guitar melody is all MIDI, because it was just it was like the temp MIDI that we had, because it's just the dorkiest sound, and we're like, it's so much funnier with it without like a cool player who's just grooving along.
Egg timer. Quickly before we move into the next episode that we want to ask about, that speaking of magic, that like the vocal sound of Jazz on the Boldly in the Pretend, it's not super close, but it's not smashed with today's reverb. It feels so human. I just love it. And the Grannies, only because Joff mentioned it. Just the trumpet in the B section. It's so New Orleans, Joff. It's so New Orleans.
I mean, like the original version of the trumpet there, Prue Monton, she played that. And she's and I was like writing that I was actually in Berlin. This was before Bluey came out or anything. I was like, oh, I need trumpet part. And I had written the first bit of the melody, and I didn't have time to write the B section, the ba da ba da 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 da, that bit. And I just played that saying, can you improvise something like this? And she played it exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
That's what's so New Orleans about it, because there's that stop, and then it's so gumbo like
and that solo was a different trumpet player. That was Bob Schultz. And I have another story about that, which was, I think it was that one or Instrument Parade, his solo on that. He's such an amazing player that when the MSO played it, they couldn't find a trumpet player who could play his part as one thing. So they had to rewrite it for the arrangement, because it was just like so cool. It was these big sweeping things. But yeah, and Prue in the first one, that sound is, here we go, nerdy. You get the green light out.
Green light, there it is.
Lucky you can edit stuff. She sent me a version with the mutes and without the mutes.
Okay.
And there was sort of like this 3-part harmony for both. And that sound is actually 6 trumpets of her with and without the mutes doing. Wow. And so it sounds a little bit sloppy. And it was a happy accident. I was just like, I'll put them all in. And then I just realized, they're all there. And it just feels like, it's got that sort of...
What a player! To be able to repeat that performance.
So it's just like, it wasn't, I mean, it's like melody, harmony on both. So one with playing a normal trumpet,
Yeah.
and then one with a Harmon mute inside it.
Right.
And when you put them both together, that's why it kind of sounds a little bit like fun and not too slick, because it's like
Yes. It
yeah.
sounds like I'm sitting in the spotted cat on Frenchman. You know.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's got that real like it's a little bit of a messy, fun vibe to it,
Yeah.
and maybe that's why like we ended up with the MIDI bass, because that was so messy and fun and cool, and we just needed the strict like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, a little bit of salty, a little bit sweet.
something,
Yeah.
something to keep it together.
Frank, can you turn the record over? I think there's
I think
a
there's going to be
second
more on
side
the
to
second
this.
side.
There's another side.
You know, it's
Yeah,
like
there
it's,
is.
yeah, it's like when the side's over and you're so disappointed, but you're like, oh, there's a whole other side. That's sort of like the feeling I'm getting, because I'm sad to leave it there.
Yeah.
But there's just
There's
so
more
much
to it.
Joff.
There's got to be.
There's more coming, listeners.
Well, look, we could sit here and talk to Joff all day.
oh,
We kind of
Can we?
did.
yeah, we kind of did.
So
and
we
that's
thought-
the reason we're doing this.
So we're stopping, not because you're sick of listening to Joff, because we sure weren't.
Oh,
Probably
who
sick of
could
listening
be?
to us. So we thought
Yeah.
we'd leave it there for now.
Small doses.
And
of us.
we'll come back in our next episode and finish our chat with the one and only Joff Bush.
I'm having a great time. If that's not clear in the.
That is very apparent.
Yeah, okay, good. Because I had an idea
So
of how good a
it's
time I
okay.
would have talking to Joff, and it's
alright.
just woo, through
Yeah,
there.
you don't need to specify.
Okay.
There is no
Very
doubt.
clear to everyone.
Please, everyone, join us again. There's more. There's more coming. More Joff.
Back to you in the studio, Oliver.
Thanks, Frank. Now back to Snickers with the traffic.